Good morning. Boy, I've missed you guys. I haven't been in this pulpit in 2 weeks. I'm very happy to be back. So I'm happy to see all your faces. I'm Reverend Emily Bruce. I'm the minister for this congregation. And as usual, I have just a few announcements before we get started. First of all, did everyone get an ornament on their way in and something to write with? If you did not, raise your hand. And Karen Kelly is poised at the ready to bring you one from the back. Well done, Karen. Everybody got one. Okay. Good for you. Also, if you are still holding on to mittens or hats or scarves for the tree, bring it up right now because we will be demittening this tree during worship. So looks like, wow, you guys are on top of things today. Also, one more quick announcement. Hopefully you've seen by now in the newsletter that next Sunday, the 12th from 4 to 7, there will be a holiday party in the parsonage right across the street. You are all invited. I'm very excited. I've got 3 Christmas trees, not decorated yet, but 3 Christmas trees. Thank you to the Matthias family. And there'll be food and drink and music. One thing I will say is my expectation is that everyone who attends that party is vaccinated. So if you are not for whatever reason and you want to talk to me, please do. But numbers are still going up. We may ask everyone to mask. I don't know that yet, but I'll have more information next week. But next Sunday, 4 to 7, right over there, all are welcome. That was my last announcement. So why don't you join me in taking a deep breath in and out. That felt good. Let's do that one more time. In and out. If you're feeling holiday stress already, if your to-do list is getting longer, let it go for the next hour. Settle into your seat. Relax any tension in your neck or your chin or your forehead. And just take another deep breath in and out. And let yourself rest and receive worship for the next hour. Kathy Kay will give us our welcome and our chalice lighting.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to First Parish Kingston, our Unitarian Universalist congregation. As Emily said, my name is Kathy Kay. I am your worship associate for today. We are an open and welcoming congregation. Everyone is welcome to join us. Thank you for being here, and I welcome each and every one of you. It's good to see you. I see our chalice lighter, Jamie Pine, is already here, ready and waiting. So as we begin our worship, we light our chalice to these words by Gordon McKeeman. Deep calls unto deep, joy calls unto joy, light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope. And as one flame lights another, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are.
Today we are in the season of Advent, a time that historically the people of Christian faith celebrate as a time to prepare for and make room for the holy. So this morning we honor Advent by lighting candles and making space in our own hearts for something new to be born in each of us. So for the first Sunday of Advent, which was last week technically, we light the candle of hope. And today, on the second Sunday of Advent, we light the candle of love. And in our hearts, we celebrate the universal love that is the spirit of this season. Please now rise in body or in spirit and join us for our opening hymn, number 189, Light of Ages and Nations.
Good morning. My name is Laura Sanda, and I serve First Parish as your Director of Religious Enrichment. Friends, the sun will set today at 4:11 p.m. Right? Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry. Over the past couple of months, I'm sure like many of you, I have bemoaned the fact that the days were getting shorter and the nights were getting longer. However, recently, something is starting to shift. I begin to find myself looking forward to the treasures found only this time of year. Quiet evenings where I can see my breath in the air, the way the stars twinkle brighter in the clear night sky, and one of my very favorite things, the lights decorating the houses around town and the holiday trees that I can see peeking out from people's windows. The British Orthodox rabbi and Jewish philosopher Jonathan Sacks wrote in his 2004 book, From Optimism to Hope, that Hanukkah is about the freedom to be true to what we believe without denying the freedom of those who believe otherwise. It's about lighting our candle while not being threatened by or threatening anyone else's candle. I am not Jewish. I am not an expert on the Jewish faith, but this particular quote really caught my attention. How beautiful is this idea that we can each shine bright without diminishing others, that when one candle lights another, it does not shrink or diminish the flame of the first. I invite you all to reflect for a moment on what brings you hope and joy and light as we enter this holiday season. What special traditions do you hold dear? How does your light shine? As you entered the sanctuary this morning, you were given a paper ornament. At this time, I encourage everyone to get them out and spend a moment decorating them with a word or two, describing something that brings you light this holiday season, or a way in which you share your light with the world. If drawing a picture feels like the right way to express yourself, that's fantastic too. I myself just drew a bunch of stars. Sometimes words are hard to find in these moments. In a few moments, we will be adorning our holiday tree with the collective wisdom and light of this community in the form of these ornaments. But first, Reverend Emily and I would love some helpers, perhaps some children would be willing to come up and help us gather the mittens and hats and wonderful items off of the mitten tree so that they're ready to be delivered to Renewal House. I have to say, I am amazed by how full this mitten tree has become over the past few weeks. So, as you finish your ornaments, my young friends, or maybe while you're thinking about what to write, I invite you to come on up. And then in a few minutes, I will invite the rest of you to come help decorate the tree. Now that our tree is officially ready, I invite you all to bring your ornaments up so we can officially deck the hall. Maybe everyone can come up the far aisle so that we don't all crash into one another. And there'll be, oh, I guess I forgot the step. We'll gather the markers after. Thank you.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it? So all the kiddos are now invited to join Laura in the back of the meeting house to head off to our religious enrichment classes. And if you will all join me in singing them out, the words are printed in the order of service. Friends, will you please join me in a word of prayer? Spirit of life and love eternal, we offer our concerns and our sorrows in this sacred space this morning. We pray for grace, for healing, and for relief from suffering for ourselves and those beloveds that surround us. And for our moments of joy, we give thanks. For moments of peace and goodwill among our fellow beings, we give thanks. For this season of gratitude, for those we love, for our membership in this community of giving and receiving, of helping and guiding, we give thanks. Spirit of hope and resilience, we ask for your presence in our midst today. In our broken and beautiful world, please help us see the human in each other. Remind us of the resilience we possess, the ability to hope for a better day, the faith in each other that carries us through when things are hard. We are all imperfect beings, doing our imperfect best to love each other. In this season of Advent, of waiting, of expectation, may we offer our hearts to each other, knowing that our love, while imperfect, is still love, and it is enough. May it be so. Amen. Let us now be still together.
Our reading today is Two Things About the Light of Hanukkah by Reverend Kendall Gibbons. First, put away the sewing, set down the clock that is losing time and needs to be adjusted, the bank statements to be reconciled, the penmanship and spelling exercises to complete, the dried beans to sort by size. Look at the light. It is not to be spent in diligence, dutifully illuminating tasks, but seen. From the eye to the mind, to the memory, to the heart, to the soul. From beauty to gratitude to faith. Praise the light and the source of light. Be inspired. Do not use the light. Do not lose the holiness of this moment in the press of ought to be done. It is forbidden to work by the light of these candles. Would you burn your lover's last letter for kindling? Watch the glow like jewels against the velvet of night sky. Waste this light in awe, as in the ancient temple, it is said they burned the oil, profligate for reverence and thanks. Blessed is the shaping of our lives by commandment and memory. Blessed is the light. Second, put the lamp in a window, in a doorway, on the balcony, in the front yard, on the village green, in Times Square. Release its beauty to the public view. Do not hoard the light. It is not yours to gloat over in private. Wherever, whenever it is safe, announce the miracle. Invite the neighborhood to remember with you. Perhaps next door they only half recall the story from some dim childhood ritual. Perhaps your 4 flames, then 5, then 6, might wake their dedication anew. Or in the city of 1,000 names for God, or none at all, those faithful candles might remind the hurried and the fallen, the defeated of heart, that beauty is yet possible, that the intention of higher purpose endures, even to rouse the captive mind to curiosity. What's the story with those lights? Is an opening for the work of spirit. Testify. Let the tongues of flame bear witness to the world that miracles abound and joy abides. Blessed is the heritage of freedom. Blessed is the custom that illuminates our common darkness. Blessed is the sharing of light.
Thank you, Kathy. When we give, we say yes to something we value. In this congregation, we take up an offering each week to say yes to the values of our UU faith and yes to this beloved community. Together, we use these gifts to serve with an even greater love. Today's offering is actually a special collection that will be given to the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Plymouth. Bethel AME was founded in 1866 and is the only Black church in this area. Their congregation has been fundraising to do some much needed repairs to their historic sanctuary, and they have a small fundraising gap to close. They have asked for help from all of the local churches and synagogues to close this gap, and our governing board voted unanimously to help. Therefore, today's offering will be given entirely to Bethel AME Church for their sanctuary restoration. Please note that if you were giving a check today, please make it out to Bethel AME Church. That said, if you were coming here planning to make a pledge payment today with a check, you can also do that. Just write pledge payment on the memo line and make it out to First Parish. So you are now invited to give as you are able, and thank you. The offering will now be received. And our offering hymn is Light One Candle, words and music by Peter Yarrow.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain that we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry they've not died in vain? Have we come this far always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears.
Thank you, choir, as always, for your beautiful, beautiful music. And I want to thank you all for your willingness to support the Bethel AME Church. In times like these, especially in times like these, it's really good to know who your friends are. And I have to say, I'm grateful to all of us for being their friend, especially today. So thank you. So, if it isn't already a little clear, we're talking a lot about Hanukkah today, its meaning and its message. And to start us off in this sermon, I want to tell a story about something that happened to me and how I, admittedly a non-Jewish person, relates to the importance of Hanukkah. Because it's a holiday that I think can carry a lot of meaning for all of us, regardless of our faith. So, years ago, before seminary, before becoming a minister, I was living in Providence. And while I was there, I bought my first house all by myself. God, I loved this house. I loved it. I still miss it. It was built in 1850, so it had a lot of historic elements to it, but it had been fully renovated. It was one of those, I guess, turnkey is what they call it, where you kind of just move in, you don't have to fix anything. Perfect for me. So I moved in. It had a great big kitchen with an island that everyone used to gather around. It had a big backyard, and I had a fire pit and a patio and a garden. I became quite the party hostess because I loved celebrating in that house. I held Christmas parties, New Year's Eve parties, wedding showers, baby showers, an engagement party, birthday parties. You name it, I was willing to host it. So it was a lot of fun. And I so loved just filling up that house with friends and music and laughter. I have to say, it was the first time as an adult that I felt like I had a home that felt like a true sanctuary, if you know what I mean. And then one day while I was at work, my house got robbed. They broke in through the beautiful French doors that opened up to the backyard. They stole my TV, they stole my laptop, and worst of all, they stole my jewelry box, which was full of sentimental costume jewelry that my grandmother had given me. I didn't have much else of value to steal, but they were thorough. My house was absolutely ransacked from top to bottom. They emptied every closet, they turned out every single drawer. All of my stuff was just strewn everywhere. It was a mess. And this had never happened to me before. Maybe it's happened to some of you. And it was a violation that I'd never personally experienced. And it shook me to my core. This beautiful sanctuary, this house that all this love and light had come into, had been trespassed. And it felt insecure. This life I had built with this house, because again, it was a really big deal that I bought this house by myself. This life suddenly felt very, very precarious. It was scary and shocking, to say the least. So they had left the back door wide open when they left, of course, because robbers don't bother to lock up when they go. And so once I realized what had happened, because, you stand there for a couple seconds just in shock, trying to absorb what's going on. So once I came to my senses, the very, very, very first thing I did, which may not surprise some of you, was find my cat. She was okay, but yes, before I called the police, I found my cat. She was hiding upstairs under my bed, which they had literally flipped over. I don't know what they thought they were looking for, but she was there, she was safe, she hadn't gotten out the door. And then I called the police. And then I called a friend who lived down the street, and she immediately came over and sat with me. At one point, she put a glass of whiskey in my hand. Later on, another one. The police came like a couple hours later. This is not a priority once they've fled the scene. So they came a little while later. I filed a report. My friend eventually ordered pizza and offered to spend the night with me. I decided I couldn't sleep in my bed after knowing they had been in my room. So I slept on the couch that night with a baseball bat on the floor next to me. Over the next few days, I started to put my house back together. I called the insurance company. I filed claims. I did all the things you do. I cleaned up the house room by room. I swept up the broken glass. A coworker came over to brace the back door until I could get it fixed. Friends bought me food and offered to lend me spare TVs and spare laptops. Neighbors, some of whom I'd actually never spoken to, came by to offer their condolences and offer help. It took a while before I felt safe again, but with each day that passed, I grew even ever more committed to reclaiming that beautiful house as my sanctuary, as my home. In my mind and in my heart, I rededicated it as a place of strength and beauty and hope. a place where I had survived hardship to remind me that I could do it again. I'm reminded of that dark time around Hanukkah, actually. As you probably know, we're in the midst of Hanukkah. I think it ends tomorrow night. Many of you know about Hanukkah, I'm sure, at least know about the 8 candles over 8 days. But I want to actually tell the story of Hanukkah this morning because it's a profound story of faith and conviction that I think we all need in our world right now. So first of all, Hanukkah is known as the Festival of Light, but the word itself means dedication. And despite its worldwide celebration, here's a couple facts for you. The story of Hanukkah does not appear in the Torah at all. Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Scholars say that the first Hanukkah occurred around 200 BC, which is after the Torah was written. But that said, in the New Testament, there is a mention of a, quote, feast of dedication that Jesus attends, which scholars largely accept to be a Hanukkah celebration. So as the story goes, Hanukkah celebrates the tale of the Maccabees, a Jewish sect who revolted against their Greek Syrian oppressors and their ruler Syrian king Antiochus IV. Now, unlike his father, Antiochus III, who tolerated the Jews, the son completely outlawed Judaism throughout the land of Judah and forced all Jews to worship Greek gods. In 168 BC, Antiochus's soldiers descended on Jerusalem, massacred thousands of Jews, and desecrated their sacred temple by erecting an altar to Zeus. They also sacrificed pigs in the temple and did a whole bunch of other things that to Jews were very profane acts to take place in their holy space. So, led by the Jewish priest Mattathias, the Maccabees rebelled against King Antiochus and his army. Within 2 years, so the story goes, within 2 years, the Maccabees completely drove the Syrian army out of Jerusalem. And apparently, again, as the story goes, there's always a story, they used guerrilla-style warfare tactics to achieve their goal. Because you have to remember that the Maccabees were small and the Syrian army was very big. So after all the Syrians were driven out, the leaders of the rebellion then called on all the people to cleanse the temple, rebuild the altar, and light the menorah, which was meant to burn every single night. So here's where the miracle happens. And the main reason for the celebration of Hanukkah, they could only find enough oil in their ransacked temple to light the menorah for one night. But miraculously, the menorah burned for 8 straight days. And this miracle happened as they were cleaning up and re-sanctifying their temple. And by the 8th day, they had secured enough oil to keep the menorah burning every night going forward. So this event, which they all believed was a miracle, inspired the creation of an 8-day festival named Hanukkah, which again means dedication. So despite the fact that this miraculous event is not recorded in the Torah, it's kind of easy to see how it survived over centuries, right? It's riveting to hear a story of a people crushed by oppression, having their religion and their culture stolen from them, and they fight back. They fight back to reclaim who they are, to preserve their lives and the future of their people. Though their foes outnumber them, and though they are in no way sure of their victory, they fight back and they succeed. And the miraculous story of the light that doesn't go out, that burns long past the time it should have, is also pretty incredible. It speaks to the power of humanity to survive hardship, to remain committed to and convicted of one's faith. It's kind of a good message to hear these days, no? Rabbi Israel Glick describes the meaning of Hanukkah this way. Fire represents the soul, always burning and striving upward. And that is why the victory of the Jewish soul over the Hellenistic attempt to extinguish it was personified by the miraculous flames of the menorah. Hanukkah is the festival of light, and as we add flames, each night lighting one more than the last, its message is that the soul will always prevail. The soul will always prevail. This is why I so appreciate the story of Hanukkah. The story of the Maccabees is made so much more profound for me when I consider the hardships I have survived, like the robbery of my home, the desecration of my sanctuary. The sacredness of our homes, these buildings that we call our sanctuary, is a powerful idea for all of us. Where we live, where we love, where we feel safe, where we rest in gratitude, that is holy ground and infinitely worth fighting for. This story reminds us that these sacred spaces are part of us. They're part of our identity. They're part of our culture. They're part of our very being. They are the holy ground where hope and faith can grow. And that hope and that faith are what sustains us out in the world. They are the very things that keep our souls burning. So when we face hardship, when the world or our lives are in turmoil, it can be so easy to lose sight of that. We don't know that we will survive the hardship, whatever it is, a robbery, an illness, a global pandemic. The list is long. We don't know how these things will end. We can't be sure that we will succeed. The Maccabees didn't either. But they had faith in the truth that they deserved to be free. They deserved the right to live their lives and live their faith. That truth sustained them and kept them fighting a massive enemy for 2 years until they were able to drive them away. And after the Syrians were gone, they rebuilt their sanctuary. Candle by candle, their home was restored. I found my cat, light a candle. I called a friend, light another candle. My home was mended and restored, light another candle. And so the light grows and the hope grows too. It is these moments when each candle lights another candle that feed the flame of strength and conviction and love and survival that burns within each one of us. Not every story has a happy ending, of course. Not every hard time ends with a miracle. But the good news is that our lives are tapestries of many, many stories. And some of them will turn out okay. Some of them will turn out even better than okay. And the stories of miracles of old, like Hanukkah, remind us of those who survived their own hardships and experienced something so precious, so amazing, so worth passing on through generations, that here we are 2,000 years later talking about it. Our stories represent so many lights that didn't go out, light that sustains us, light that gives us hope, light that carries us through the darkness that we all face. May you keep lighting candles for yourself and for the world outside this sanctuary. Let these flames bear witness to the world that miracles abound and joy abides. Happy Hanukkah, friends. Amen. Please rise in body or in spirit to join us for our closing hymn, number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
This
extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth or the warmth of this community. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace and amen.